Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, we got rid of this John Kerry for a while, but don't be that happy because I suspect the next one, because there will be a next one, will be equally evil, I would say. Now, what do we have? We have John Kerry, if you remember the so-called climate envoy, climate czar, climate boss, climate secretary, climate something. And when, even if though, there are some changes, could be some changes in the temperature and, as they call it, climate change, which I personally do not subscribe to that. Yes, I'm a denier. The fact that I see who is handling that, it makes me or assures me that's a racket. If you have people like John Kerry or you have like Al Gore, you have others involved in this fight against a crisis, which I don't think it's a crisis whatsoever. When I see these people involved and trying to tell us that they want to save us, it's pathetic. Just, put Al Capone in charge of the police department or, I don't know, the courthouse or something like this and see how, at least you should ask some questions. I watched some interviews. I watched John Kerry in front of a, I can't remember if it was a House or senatorial panel, maybe a few weeks ago. And he was asked by some Republicans a few questions, and he got irritated because he did not have the answers. When you are, when people or when media and other interests promote you and cover for you, you don't have to answer certain questions because you're never asked those questions. So John Kerry steps down from Biden administration. He's too old to be appointed to a, I don't know, position of a CEO somewhere because he's got the money and position. He's married, or not, he's still married, but was married very well with Mrs. Hines, wasn't her? That's what her name was, or is. So he's just fine. He doesn't have to beg, like for instance, Lloyd Austin, or be promoted after working for the government, getting a job, and so on. He has everything at that point. The only thing that he's craving is authority and power, and he lost that one. He was a global climate envoy, U.S. Tra-la. No, I think he's just a weasel, like many like him. Business Insider: John Kerry steps down from Biden administration. Don't be that happy, because we're going to have another one. And that probably is going to be younger, handsome. This guy was ugly as fuck. And more verbal, or how should I put it, more sophisticated in his speech. More full of charisma. Because when you can't win with the brain, you're going to win with charisma, which is sneaky, sly, slimy, sleazy, weasel attitude. But you're going to attract a big portion of the population through your looks. You want to see how, or examples are numerous. One of them is Richard Nixon versus JFK, which I never considered personally JFK as a handsome man. Let's say from 0 to 10, I would give him a 3. Yeah, I would give Nixon a 1, but nevertheless. But I've been told that he's handsome. Okay, you fuck him if you want. Too late now, but whatever. So yes, appearance matters, and I mentioned this in another video when you had, if you remember, Richard Nixon was when they were running against one another, Richard Nixon and JFK. In the polls, Richard Nixon was beating JFK until they had the first ever broadcasted on a television, their debate, and then he got JFK immediately surged in the polls. Why? Some people thought that's an attribute to vote for a politician who's going to solve your problems. That kind of problems, I guess. Wishful thinking. So John Kerry stepped down as a special envoy on climate on Saturday. Biden brought on Kerry in 2020 to serve in the National Security Council's first climate position. Kerry worked internationally, especially with China, to promote U.S. climate goals, and it works just fine. John Kerry, the U.S. Special Envoy on Climate, is stepping down from the Biden administration in the coming weeks, according to two people familiar with his plans. So I would like to know who would be the one in the wings, who pushes him around. Here are his accomplishments for the boogeyman here. Represented Massachusetts, Democratic nominee. I watched the guy. He's so sweet, like a salt mine. It's just he never convinced me. He seemed not. I don't want to go to his policy, which I think is like defending a book that contradicts itself over and over again. But you have to defend it, and because you have something out of it. I don't know. You are a priest or something. Then you have to defend it. And the same here. This guy with Al Gore, they have to defend a religion of climate change, I would say, without having the data. They couldn't convince. They talk in not only in cliches, but the main point for them is threats. If you don't act, you're all gonna die. Your children die, and you're responsible. So guilt, building guilt, and you can call me, whatever you want, but I'm not convinced whatsoever that this climate change is as they say it is whatsoever. I don't think that's a consensus in the scientific community as they try to make it. And their policies are, I think, a financial racket, which is they're going to charge us. I'm not saying, for instance, the countries should not develop so-called clean energy or renewable energy, but a population, globe population at this standard of living cannot be, I would say, be sustained only with the so-called, clean energy and renewable energy. That means you have to go back to, as that PhD, was it a sheikh? Yeah, I think it was a sheikh in Saudi Arabia said, he's going to send us back to caves. And the problem is going to be you and I living in caves. They, the Kerrys and the Al Gores, will still live better than they live right now with everything. Why? They need it. They need it to protect us and protect the planet. Just look at what kind of planes they fly, talking about the climate change. Just an example. Look, for instance, where they have their houses, far away from where the water can get them, right? Because the ocean, is already... Remember when Al Gore came with an inconvenient truth, that pseudo-threatening, scary movie? Remember when it was, 20 years ago or so? He said that in 15 years, the water levels would be this, blah, 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 blah. We're past that, and he's still talking. These are just shysters. Is that how we say shysters? Anyway, he's gone. I'm waiting to see a younger, better looking, and more articulated guy. This guy was too dry. Okay, the other guy is going to be, I guarantee you. And I don't know if he's going to belong to a certain group or not. He's going to definitely belong to a group, but a certain group. But that certain group doesn't produce really. Anyway, we'll find out, and I'm going to let you know. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.